My name is Emma Duarte.
And my name is Christian Watkins.
And we are Christian teens giving our personal insight with facts and stories.
Welcome to the TBH, Teens Being Honest podcast. That's good. You know how much I love you? Do you know how much?
I know.
You know? How much? How much? Can you do it with your hands? Is it like this? What it's like this? Dun, 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 dun. No, you know how cute you are?
I'm cute.
How cute?
Really cute.
Really cute, ain't that right? Are you smart?
You want to see my planets?
Yeah, let's see your planets. Let's go. What's up? Tell me the planets.
The Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Neptune, Pluto. Then the asteroid belt.
What about the asteroid belt?
But the asteroid belt has asteroids on it.
Yeah, but what about the dwarf planets?
But it's the Eris, Mars, Mercury, Ceres, Pluto, and finally Orcus.
Orcus?
It's a minor planet.
Yeah.
Want to see my planets up there?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm gonna waste this. We both win. We both won.
Yeah, we both won. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Teens Being Honest podcast. This week we're going to be talking about racial injustice. I'm going to be going over what happened in my school life with my friends or my old friends. And Emma recently participated in the protests going on all around the country. So we both have two different perspectives on the subject, and we're going to be going over that today. So Emma, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I recently went to the protest for George Floyd. It's been happening everywhere, and I went with pure intentions, and I went with a good heart, and I went there to just stand up for George Floyd and to stand up for police brutality, for anti-racism, racial injustice, all of those things. I just went to show my support to just the entire community, and at first it was peaceful, and I was there to show love and support, and then it turned more into violence and rioting, unfortunately, and I ended up leaving because that's not what I went to support. And then when it was nighttime, it turned pretty violent and more into looting. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because the day before I went to the protest, I went to a party with one of my friends. She is Black, her entire family is Black, and it was just an amazing time. It was really lovely, and there was good food and nice dancing. But at the end of the night, we all sat down, we were just relaxing, and they told me about every single one of them has had a incident with racism or somebody being racist to them. And my friend sat right next to me, and she said it's just part of being Black. And it was like the most heartbreaking thing to hear these people talk about it as if it's like a normal thing that they live with, and that it's just, I understand that there are many problems in the world, and that so many people, being just a woman or being a man or being of any,
a person.
Just being a person has its own issues that we're going to run into throughout life. But it was just really sad to see, and I decided I wanted to go stand up against that. So I went, and it was in Sacramento. I was at the state capitol, and I had just walked up to everybody and saw the police officers in rows and barricading the state capitol. And it was really hard to see because I was like right at the front lines, and I saw a Black woman next to me who was really passionate about voting and really passionate about, telling her story, and she was yelling out, and she was, being a protester. And while, it was peaceful, she wasn't being violent, it was still very hard to watch, just the pain, and I could never possibly understand the oppression or anything that she's felt throughout her whole life or her family has. But I also was able to see the police officer in front of her who had tears in his eyes, and I could just tell he really didn't want to be there. And it was really hard to see just so much going on in that moment. And to me, it just made me feel like I really wanted to pray. I wanted to pray for every single person. I wanted to pray for, obviously how horrible police brutality is, and how it's now being filmed and it's now being brought up in the media, in the world. And it just hurts my heart. So I think what really was the hardest thing to see was how it turned more and more violent, and how there was just more revenge than justice, and there was more hatred than peace. And I understand people have that right to be angry. It's a horrible thing what happened to George. It was heartbreaking to watch what happened to so many other people. But what was really surprising to me was seeing not everyone, there were some peaceful people, but a good majority towards the end yelling, kill them all, kill all the cops, spitting and throwing things, and just ultimately just having that hate towards police officers. And while I'm not trying to bring light to police brutality, I just want to bring in God and show how fighting hate with more hate, it doesn't make that movement any better. In fact, I think it just dishonors the movement, and I think it just puts out there a negative message. And so seeing the police officers crying, but also seeing how people were rioting, and then towards the end of the night looting and just burning things down and making a community really unsafe. I have so many friends, so many of my Black friends who agree that it's just being dishonored and it's being taken out of control, and it's not even fighting for something anymore. It's just having an excuse to spread crime. So as a Catholic and wanting to stand up for something, I often can feel conflicted because, there's injustice and there's anger, but there also is a time and there's room for love and there's room for peace. And at a tipping point, when people are just like, no more, like, we're not going to be silent about it anymore, I still think that there's a way to go about it where people can show their love and people can make a difference, a lasting difference, something that actually, makes change. So that was just something that I was able to observe, and that really broke my heart, and I was praying and crying for some time afterwards, but it was just really hard to see.
So with what you're talking about, that pain goes so deep. I mean, They came to our country as slaves. They weren't free men. We used them for work. Many don't know their relatives because they were slaves. They had numbers. It's not like this is a new thing. Talk about the civil rights movement. They were being treated with a lack of any respect for the human person, right? And it should have gone up in flames. That's, talk about Malcolm X. It should have gone up in flames. There should have been so much rioting, and all around the U.S. it should have been, a lot of things should have been destroyed and things ruined, and that separation, that divide deeper. But then Martin Luther came along, and instead of this hateful movement, it was a movement of peace. And it didn't start off successful. It didn't start off with change right away, but after a long period of time, change started to happen. But then that injustice kind of stayed. People that didn't support that movement didn't just support it once it became law or once once things changed. They still held that grudge. Both sides did. And that's been heating up and burning for years and years and years, and there's been so many things that are just wrong. You can't justify any police brutality to no matter to who, right? And there's just so much hate. But how does hate fight hate? How do you stop hate by spreading more hate? That doesn't make any sense. But then you can say, well, Christian, you don't understand. You're not black. I am not black. I can't say that I understand that pain, that rage, right? I could never understand. That's not my place to judge or
right.
to do anything.
Right.
But, I know that just spreading more hate isn't the best way to make change. I'll go into my story about this. So we recently adopted my wonderful little brother Micah, and he's the best person ever. He's amazing, and he's just one of the major joys in my life, one of the major parts of my happiness, and I just love him with my whole heart. And I wanted to share that love with my friends. This little 2-year-old little black kid that's just so awesome. He just brings so much joy to my family and to anyone he meets, and I just wanted them, my friends, to feel that joy too. I wanted them to know that, there's more to life than just what we were doing. But you see, my friends were racist in the sense that they just used whatever words they wanted. They would say the N-word, the hard R word constantly, as if it was just another word in the alphabet, as if it didn't hold any weight.
Yeah.
As if that hadn't been used to call slaves on board or whip, like as people were whipping them, that as if those people didn't use those words, and they would sometimes say it with just so much hate that it was all terrible. And I fell victim to that too, because all around me everyone was using this word as if it was just a word, as if it didn't matter, as if it was just like a cuss word or just a slang that you always use, right? So it felt normal. But when I stopped that, I just felt horrible, because that was so awful. And especially with my new little brother, like, how could I justify even thinking about one of those words, right? I don't have any right to say that. I don't have any right to do anything like that. I don't have any right to judge a person for that. But that being said, when I got my little brother, I wanted to stop, right? I wanted to just show them.
You wanted to change for the better, right?
Yeah, and I wanted to change my friends too. I wanted to say, like, look, this guy is the best. I mean, he's not scary. No, he's not that person that you're putting on to these wonderful people, right? He's not this image that you make them. But I think the second time I was talking about my brother, this guy that I don't even really know, he just started like going ham on my brother for no reason, right? And everyone was laughing, and they're just, he was cussing him out as if my brother did anything to him. And
Micah?
Micah. Yeah, a 2-year-old, my little brother that I just adopted. He was just going ham on him and just making it seem like the N-word was nothing. That it didn't even matter that was my brother, and I was standing in front of him, and I was just, I was so mad, right? But this kid is tall, and he's scary, and everyone else is laughing, and so I was just like, dude, like, please don't say that again. But I didn't do any more than that. And you keep using that joke as if it was funny. And it just got me so angry at this kid that he was using that against my little brother. But I sort of, instead of trying to change that, I just let it slide. I thought, man, I really wish this kid would stop. But I just let it slide. I let it go on. Or another time with my other friend, when he was at our house and my little brother came in the room and this kid, Micah, my little brother, brought him so much joy, but he still couldn't stop from saying the N-word. And then I was talking to him later that day about like, yeah, man, this guy's really on my nerve, and I really wish he wouldn't say these things about Micah. And then this kid was like, but he was kind of funny, you have to admit. So, oh, man, I was so mad. And
it's just like the disrespect.
Yeah, the disrespect and just the thinking that they had and that they have. Or I don't know if they still have. I haven't talked in a while, but it was just heartbreaking to me. And it was just one of the many factors that led into me having to separate myself. But now, with the hashtag Blackout Tuesday movement, all these friends that, said all these things and were doing all these horrible things, they're all posting, and I just sort of feel kind of hurt and kind of like, okay, the meaning why is to stop racism, to stop injustice, to stop what's going on. But if you hold that grudge in your heart, or you use those words, or you think that way about these people, these wonderful people, how can you justify like supporting or doing something when it's just not real?
I think it's in the everyday actions. I think it's definitely holds in people's actions their accountability to whether they actually believe in, anti-racism, and they actually like live by that, because they can do a lot of things. Maybe they don't even realize it, because as I really want to talk about is just how people are taught, how to behave. They realize that they have examples. They're taught to hate. And I think that as a parent or as a teenager, just realizing that there are so many different ways that you and your actions every single day can, for the better, be respectful and be loving and show God's light, and not just look at the color of someone's skin, but the content of their character.
I want to take where you're going, and just finish up the podcast saying, before you can try and make change and try and support change, you have to change who you are, right? Mm-hmm. I couldn't stand what my friends were doing to Micah. I couldn't stand what my friends were saying. But it's not like I told them to stop, right? I just kept it inside my heart. Even participating, right? Even as if that was a joke, as if that was funny, as if that meant anything. As if that would make change and make me happier, right? I use these excuses. But if you can't change yourself and change the way you look at life, the way you look at these wonderful people, all around the world, not just black people, but just everyone. If you can't change how you look at them and you care about them, you can't support, you can support, right, these different movements, but you have to change yourself if you're going to live by that. Mm-hmm. If you're actually going to live by what you preach or say.
It's your actions, your mindset that it will actually cause so much change day by day.
So, yeah, you were talking about the riots and how hate just makes more hate. And then you can ask the question, well, how am I going to make change? How am I going to do this without fighting back? And we're not asking you to fight back. We're not asking you to change the way you feel. Unless you're wrong, then change. But like Emma just said, turn the other cheek. That doesn't mean to stand down and act like nothing's wrong, because stuff is really wrong.
Stand up for injustice, for sure.
Stuff is really wrong. The world's messed up. More messed up than it's been it's just messed up. The world
right now, yeah.
It's been for a long time. Mm-hmm. But turning the other cheek isn't standing down. Mother Teresa, I want to tell a story. Mother Teresa went into a bakery shop with this starving little child, and all she wanted was to feed this little child, and Mother Teresa didn't have any money, so she went into this bake shop and asked the owner for a piece of bread, and the owner spit in her face, right? So what we're doing now to fight injustice is we're fighting back. We would spit back in that person's face and walk out and in disgust and cuss at them or do whatever, right? But that just brings more hate, brings a bigger divide. But what Mother Teresa instead did was said to that baker, thank you for that gift. Now, can you give a gift to this little child? Right? She didn't stand down. She didn't just accept that injustice as if that was the right thing and that was just how it was. She didn't stand down.
She was really strong, actually.
Exactly. And then once she took that, she, instead of reciprocating back that pain and that hurt and just anger, she didn't do that, right? And that's so much harder than lashing out anger. That is so much harder than fighting back, right? Because well, that's just standing down. That's doing nothing. But there are different ways to make change. Yeah. That's the bottom line. There are different ways to make change, and just start with changing yourself. That's the two main points we wanted to get out of this. You want to wrap us up with a prayer?
Sure. God, I just really want you to have mercy on all of us and to protect us through your love. And God, I just ask that of all the people that are hurting right now, of all the people that are feeling so much pain and anger, to please show them that there is a better way, show them that there is hope, and that you will help all of us and make things right through your justice. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm sorry that we had to do another serious topic, but this is Teens Being Honest, and it's kind of becoming a regular occurrence. But thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.